Pueblo, and our route takes us through the mountains. This is an untested car that just recently hit the street. It's got maybe 387 miles.
Disaster nearly struck Derek Bieri, not in a highway pileup, but from a stubborn old Mustang that almost left him defeated by a raging blizzard. He learned from a young age on the farm how to make broken things work again. This hands-on experience made him incredible at fixing cars, often when no one else could. He then shared his car-saving adventures online, and people everywhere loved his can-do spirit. Let's find out if the horrible accident was just one close call, or if fame brought even worse threats right to his family. From farm fixes to finding his way, the early roads. To really get a handle on Derek Bieri, you have to go back to where it all started. He was born in Minot, North Dakota, on May 16, 1984. Life on a farm isn't easy, and it teaches you a few things right quick. One of the biggest lessons: if something breaks, you fix it yourself. There wasn't always a handy store nearby or extra cash to just buy a new part. His dad and grandpa were wizards with tools. They could coax almost any stubborn piece of machinery back to life with know-how, some sweat, and a bit of clever thinking. That whole mindset: figure it out, make it work, don't let anything beat you. That got baked into Derek from a young age. It wasn't surprising then that by the time he was a teenager, Derek had a real knack for anything mechanical. Welding, fabricating, taking apart and rebuilding things, it all came pretty naturally to him.
Holy smokes! I knew how that worked. I don't have fancy tools.
He wasn't hitting the books in a stuffy classroom to learn this stuff. His education came from actually doing it, from making mistakes and learning from them, usually during long hours spent in a garage or barn. Every broken down car or sputtering tractor was a new lesson waiting to be learned. This hands-on experience is something you just can't get from a textbook. For a good number of years, he put those skills to use, working in auto shops and even managing businesses. He was honing his craft, getting a real-world education in how things work, and, just as importantly, how they break and how to fix them. While a lot of kids his age were thinking about college degrees, Derek was busy getting covered in grease, understanding the language of engines and transmissions. He built a reputation for being the guy who could tackle the car projects that seemed too far gone, the ones everyone else had given up on. Then, life took him on a different path for a while, into the corporate world.
I'm gonna put some ice cube juice in it here, get this thing fired back up this morning, and heat it up. Hopefully the head gaskets are good and it stays cool. We got quite a ways to go back to the shop, so.
Think office meetings, schedules, a steady 9-to-5 job. It was stable, it paid the bills, but anyone who knew Derek could guess that his heart probably wasn't fully in it. The call of the garage, the satisfaction of reviving a dead engine, that's a hard thing to ignore. He still found time for his passion, wrenching on cars in his off hours, fitting it in whenever he could. But that desire to build, to restore, to create something running from a pile of rust, it was always there, simmering under the surface. Around 2007, seeing what other car folks were doing online, he decided to start filming his own automotive adventures. The first videos from ViceGrip Garage weren't polished productions, not by a long shot. The camera might have been shaky, the lighting less than perfect, but what shone through was Derek's genuine passion and his unique way of doing things. He wasn't trying to be a fancy TV host. He was just a guy sharing his love for old cars and the challenge of making them go again, often with a good dose of humor and his now famous catchphrases. This was the humble start of something that would grow bigger than he likely ever imagined, laying the groundwork for a career where every day could bring a new, unexpected challenge, the kind that sometimes feels like dodging one accident after another. YouTube stardom, big moves, and the weight of success. Derek's unique approach to car resurrection really struck a chord with people. They say his big breakthrough moment came when he took on a 1969 Camaro Z28. It was a total basket case, the kind of project that would make most people walk away. But Derek, with his can-do spirit and down-to-earth style, brought it back to life, and the internet took notice. He wasn't about creating flawless, high-dollar restorations that you'd only see in magazines. He was all about saving the underdogs, the cars that were just one step away from the scrapyard, and that's what people connected with. His channel, Vice Grip Garage, started to gain serious traction. It wasn't an overnight explosion, but a steady climb, built on project after project, success after hard-fought success. Soon, millions were tuning in. For a while, he juggled his corporate job with the rapidly growing demands of the channel. Filming in his spare time, editing late into the night, it was like having two full-time jobs. But as Vice Grip Garage got bigger, the demand for more videos, more revivals, more Derek became impossible to ignore. He found himself at a crossroads: stick with a secure, predictable corporate career, or take a massive leap of faith and go all in on the unpredictable roller coaster world of being a full-time content creator. He chose the garage. He walked away from the office job, trading in the suit and tie for grease-stained jeans permanently. It was a bold move, the kind that defines a life, and it paid off. The channel's growth went into overdrive. More subscribers meant bigger and crazier projects, and his community of car lovers just kept expanding. He was building more than just a popular YouTube channel. He was creating a movement centered around the idea that no car is too far gone, that with enough grit and ingenuity, even the rustiest, most neglected old machine deserves a second chance at life. This success opened up new doors and led to some big life changes. In 2021, Derek and his family made the significant decision to move from Minnesota all the way to Tennessee. This wasn't just about a change of address. Tennessee offered a different pace of life, a lower cost of living, and crucially, more time for the things that mattered most: his family and his cars. Back in Minnesota, his daily commute was a killer, eating up over an hour each way. That's like losing a whole month every year just sitting in traffic. The move south gave him that time back, time he could spend in the garage, dreaming up new projects and bringing more automotive underdogs back to life. The weather in Tennessee was another major plus. No more brutal Minnesota winters forcing months-long shutdowns on garage work. He could wrench year-round, which meant a more consistent flow of videos for his eager audience and the ability to tackle even more ambitious builds. And for someone with a growing interest in racing, Tennessee's vibrant motorsports scene was a huge draw. He had already started exploring the world of drag racing, even running a heavily modified ice cream truck at the Midwest Drags in 2021, mostly for the fun of it. But things got more serious when he entered Rocky Mountain Race Week with his potent Mustang, famously known as El Toro. That car wasn't just for show, it was a beast on the strip, capable of blistering 8-second quarter-mile passes. These racing adventures added another exciting but also demanding dimension to his life. The thrill of competition, the precision required, the potential for high-speed mechanical accidents, it was a whole different kind of challenge. His visibility and unique appeal didn't go unnoticed by the mainstream media. Motor Trend approached him, and in 2022, his own television show, Roadworthy Rescues, premiered. The premise was pure Derek. Find a forgotten, often decrepit car and bring it back to running condition against a tight deadline, usually to get it road-tripped home. The very first episode saw him reviving a 1967 Mustang that had been sitting dormant for almost 30 years. The show brought his talents to an even wider audience, but it also came with the pressures of television production schedules and network expectations. Each successful project, each new venture, added another layer to his already busy life, a life where the line between passion and profession was becoming increasingly intertwined, and where the stakes and potential for things to go unexpectedly sideways were always rising. The Kentucky Mustang. Let's zoom in on one of those classic vice grip garage adventures, the kind of situation that really shows what Derek is all about, and maybe hints at the kind of accidents that are always lurking in his world. He found himself in Kentucky, facing down a 1979 Fox body Mustang. This wasn't a car he'd picked out after weeks of searching. He was seeing it for the first time, and it hadn't seen the light of day or felt an engine rumble in 23 years. As if that wasn't enough of a challenge, a nasty snowstorm was on its way, with forecasters calling for 4 to 6 inches. His deadline to get this relic moving? The very next afternoon. The pressure was immense. The car's history was a tangled web of previous owners and failed revival attempts, common for the machine's derrick tackles. Ronnie, the last guy to own it, had tried to keep it going, but eventually it just gave up and was rolled into the barn. First impressions of the Mustang were a mixed bag. The body was surprisingly straight, a good sign, though a large dent marred one side. Derek noted the lack of major rust with a hint of suspicion, knowing that sometimes the worst problems are hidden. The temperature was a biting 8 degrees, making every bolt and frozen part an extra battle. A quick VIN check confirmed it was a genuine factory V8 model, which was a definite plus. But a look under the hood revealed the usual story for a long dormant project. An aftermarket intake, a bird's nest of questionable wiring, a distributor that looked like it had seen better centuries, and fuel lines so brittle they'd snap if you looked at them too hard. The ignition system, a common Ford ailment of that era, was completely non-functional. The battery, naturally, was as dead as a doornail. Derek hooked up a fresh battery and turned the key. Relief, the engine turned over. It wasn't seized, a major hurdle cleared, but the distributor was another story, practically welded in place by decades of rust and grime. It took the classic VGG combination of heat from a torch, a generous soaking of penetrating oil, a sturdy pry bar, and plenty of colorful language, we can imagine, before it finally surrendered with a loud crack. He planned to ditch the complicated factory ignition for a simpler, more reliable Petronix flamethrower setup. As he worked, another classic problem arose. His rental truck got stuck in the soft ground of Ronnie's old garden. Just another day at the office for Derek. With daylight fading and the storm clouds gathering, every minute counted. The fuel system was next on the hit list. Old fuel lines were stiff and fragile. The sending unit was junk, and the fuel pump was nowhere to be found. He had to drop the fuel tank and clean out years of disgusting, varnish-like old gasoline that reeked of failure and disappointment. A new pump, filter, and fresh lines were installed, with fingers crossed. The cooling system was equally neglected. Belts were cracked, hoses were suspect, and the thermostat was likely seized. He pulled the thermostat housing to find it packed with rust. New parts went in, along with fresh coolant and a silent prayer that the old radiator wouldn't spring a leak the moment it felt some heat after more than 2 decades of cold storage. The transmission shifter was jammed between gears, requiring him to crawl underneath into 23 years of accumulated dirt and rust to free up the linkage. Brakes? The master cylinder was bone dry, the rear drums were locked up, and the front calipers were a gamble at best. He managed to get some life back into them, but good was not the word anyone would use. Electrical gremlins abounded. No brake lights, no turn signals. But he got the headlights and, miraculously, the dash lights to flicker on. A small sign of progress in the dimming light. This whole scenario, the tight deadline, the approaching blizzard, a car that had every right to never run again, working with limited tools in a cold barn, it's the essence of a vice-grip garage adventure. It's also fraught with potential accidents. A snapped bolt, a hidden electrical short starting a fire, a crucial part failing at the worst possible moment, or simply running out of time and getting stranded. Each revival is a high-wire act. While this Mustang project didn't end in a horrible accident in the traditional sense, it showcased the razor's edge Derek often operates on. The accident here could have easily been a complete and utter project failure, leaving him stuck and defeated by the elements and a stubborn old Ford. That he usually manages to pull it off is a testament to his skill and sheer determination, but it doesn't lessen the risk inherent in every single one of these rescues. Scandals, rumors, and wild fan theories, the other side of YouTube fame. Let's take a break from talking about cars and look at something else that happens when someone becomes really famous on YouTube. When a creator like Derek Bieri gets millions of people watching everything he does, it's not surprising that some fans, and even strangers, start to spread rumors, make wild guesses, or create stories that might not even be true. That's just part of being famous online. Even though Derek seems like a down-to-earth, honest guy who works hard and cares a lot about his family, no one is safe from gossip once they become a well-known name on the internet. One of the first stories people started talking about came from something that was supposed to be a joke. In one video, Derek was working on a 1965 Chevy C10 pickup truck and jokingly called it the Lawsuit. Fans of his show knew it was just a funny name, but some people who didn't know him well thought he was actually getting sued because of the truck. The rumor got so big that Derek had to clear things up. He explained that it was only a nickname, probably because the truck had caused him a lot of trouble or had a messy history before he bought it. So, this scandal wasn't real. It was just a simple joke that got misunderstood by people online. Still, it shows how quickly things can get out of hand when you're a public figure and everyone is watching. Another story that caused a stir was more serious. Someone broke into Derek's farm and stole a very rare and valuable car part, a carburetor. This wasn't just any part. It was likely saved for a special car project, and losing it must have been frustrating and disappointing. Derek's family even offered a $5,000 reward to try to get it back. That's how important the part was. The good news is that his fans supported him right away. They shared the news all over the internet, trying to help. This wasn't really drama about something bad Derek did. It was a crime that happened to him, and it showed how strong his fan base is when something goes wrong. Other than those moments, there are also smaller things people talk about online, like disagreements and fan-made theories. In one Reddit thread, some fans mentioned a possible argument between Derek and another YouTuber named Mortsky Repair. It seemed like they might have disagreed about car parts or sponsors. Some people also said Derek didn't handle online negativity well and that maybe his ego was getting too big. Others defended him, saying he handles everything fine. This kind of arguing is normal on the internet, especially for someone with a huge fan base. Not everyone will always agree on how a creator should act. One fan theory claimed that Derek had to deal with scary stalkers and a break-in at his Tennessee property. If that's true, it's a really serious and frightening situation. Being famous can bring unwanted attention, and no one should have to go through something like that. But it's hard to know how true the video is unless you watch it all. Sometimes creators use big, flashy titles to get more clicks, even if the real story isn't as dramatic. And then there are the fan theories, ideas that people online make up about Derek and his channel. Some wonder if all the barn finds are real, or if some cars were already chosen ahead of time to look like surprises. Others think maybe Derek has a secret team helping him behind the scenes. There are also questions about whether his builds are still low budget now that he has sponsors. A few even think he faked some car problems to make the videos more exciting. And one fan said he has a secret stash of cars in North Dakota that he films in advance. These ideas are fun for fans to talk about, but most are just guesses. Even with the rumors and stories, Derek's fans still love him because he's real, funny, and knows how to fix cars like no one else. He's dodged lawsuits, blizzards, stalkers, and still brings rust buckets back to life. But is Derek hiding more than horsepower behind those barn doors? Let us know, and don't forget to like and subscribe.